The Indiana Fever front office is in serious trouble, man, yet again.
The Fever have done it again. And if you guys don't know, they've done the survey.
2 minutes ago, the WNBA and the Indiana Fever just set off a firestorm.
The Indiana Fever front office cannot catch a break.
And it all centers around Caitlin Clark. Fans are calling it a straight-up attack, and the proof is right there in a so-called fan survey that looks anything but innocent.
Survey was basically the Indiana Fever sent it out to fans and they asked them a whole bunch of questions. They asked them a whole bunch of questions and it was all about like, would you be fans of the team? And what happens if we did this? Like, why would you stop being fans of the Fever? And why did you become fans of the Fever? But a lot of the questions were, why did you become fans of the Fever? Caitlin Clark.
Instead of celebrating the one player who single-handedly turned this franchise from empty seats into sold-out arenas, the survey seemed designed to push her to the side.
There is only one truth. And the truth of the matter is that Caitlin Clark is this phenomenon that changed the entire landscape.
The backlash was instant, and now the Fever front office is facing serious questions about whether they actually respect the superstar who saved their team.
See, when they start doing stuff like this, they're up to something. They're up to something, bro. I ain't lying. The front office is up to something, and now y'all finna have people looking at y'all funny again, bro. It is what it is. Y'all finna have people looking at y'all funny again.
The survey that sparked all this outrage was sent directly to Fever fans, and at first glance, it looked like a harmless questionnaire.
Say Fever Basketball LLC. Y'all see, this is the Fever right here. I kind of highlighted that for you. That is the Fever. How come I'm not seeing no scouts, bro? Or the scouting department? Do they even have a scouting department?
But once people started reading the questions, it became clear something wasn't right. Fans were asked things like why they became supporters of the Fever, what would make them stop being fans, and which WNBA players came to mind first.
When you think of the WNBA, who are the first three players that come to mind? Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese. You mentioned you have at least heard the names of the following WNBA players. Which WNBA team does each player belong to? If you don't know the answer, click I don't know. What is going on?
Yet in all of that, Caitlin Clark's name was either buried or missing completely. This is the same Caitlin Clark who sold out every arena, shattered TV ratings, and brought national attention to a team that barely drew 3,000 fans before she arrived.
And I think the way she plays and the way she's entertained brought so many guys over, whether they were men's college basketball fans or NBA fans or whatever the case, which is something that the WNBA and a lot of women's sports hadn't done before. And I think that's an under-discussed aspect of why Caitlin Clark is so popular.
By avoiding her name, the front office sent a message that felt intentional, and fans immediately saw it as a move to downplay her role in the team's success. What makes this whole situation worse is that the survey isn't just a bad look. It exposes a much deeper problem.
It seems as if the overseas scouting department, some YouTube highlights, some clips, and a couple phone calls with a person on the other end saying, trust me, bro, trust me.
With how the Fever front office actually operates. On the surface, the franchise paints a picture of success. They proudly show off a $78 million practice facility.
They're the one that unveiled a $78 million practice facility. I didn't know about it. They told me. They're the one that came out with the Now You Know camp. It's them. So God forbid some fans are like, wait, you guys told us this, and you're operating like you just started business yesterday?
Promote flashy branding campaigns and position themselves as the rising star of the WNBA.
I think it's important for people to hear your background and context for people who don't know, and that's on the women's sports side of things. But then there's another aspect that you touch on in the book, and that I think has not been discussed as much as to the explosion of Caitlin Clark's popularity, and that's dudes. You know, Caitlin Clark, everybody goes like white and straight and all these other carnival barker talking points, but I've always thought her popularity, and with anything, there's a pie.
They've cashed in on Caitlin Clark's popularity with record-breaking jersey sales, sold-out arenas, and national media coverage that the team could only dream of a year ago. To the public eye, it looks like everything is booming. But when you peel back the curtain, the reality is shocking.
Last year, in their defense last year, a load of questions were about Caitlin Clark being like, did Caitlin Clark bring you in, essentially? Would you stay if Caitlin's gone and all this stuff? Now it's like, what is the other reason? 97% is other. Caitlin Clark got drafted by the Indiana Fever.
Despite all that money and attention pouring in, the Fever don't even have a proper scouting department. Instead of building a professional staff that can identify and sign the best talent to support Caitlin, insiders revealed that the organization has been relying on YouTube clips, highlight reels, and a few phone calls overseas where someone simply says, "Trust me, bro." That's not strategy.
Y'all want more money. Y'all want more money. So it looks like this is a WNBA thing. This is a whole league thing. Now that leads us into our next story.
That's desperation. For a professional basketball franchise to operate like this is embarrassing, especially when they're sitting on one of the most valuable players the women's game has ever seen.
What was the origin of your fandom for the Fever? Just like 97% of Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin Clark joins the team. They average like 3,000 seats to like 3,000 fans to 16,000 selling out every game.
It doesn't stop there. Fans are realizing that this is a franchise trying to look like a powerhouse while cutting corners in the places that matter most.
It says the Fever are sending fans surveys for marketing research again. Meanwhile, they have Stephanie White and Brianna January in the dark closet with 3G Wi-Fi at YouTube with ads for scouting.
They can build a luxury practice facility, but they can't build a proper team around their superstar.
They're not wrong. At this point in time, like A'ja Wilson's gotta, like as good as A'ja's been in a few games, A'ja's gotta go get it back.
They can run slick marketing surveys, but they can't provide the infrastructure to take advantage of Caitlin Clark's championship window.
People can say, look at all these fans.
As you walk down the aisle of the pool, on the terrace of the concourse, proceed to the next unobstructed stairway down and exit
Wow.
the meeting, where you'll be guided across the street to a
Wow.
safe location. Elevators and escalators will not be in operation during the evacuation. Please follow.
Now, one of the coolest things I can say, I had the pleasure of viewing this live in Iowa. That is the Caitlin Clark effect.
It's a contradiction that fans are calling out loudly. The Fever love the spotlight and the money that Caitlin brings. But when it comes to actually respecting her impact and putting in the work to maximize her success, the front office looks lost.
A lot of these people that like be naming these players, they been watching this lame ass league, bro. Ain't nobody been looking at this league, bro. I'm gonna be honest, bro.
And that gap between image and reality is exactly why this survey feels like more than a mistake. It feels like proof that the organization doesn't understand, or worse, doesn't value the player who saved them.
Once you go up to 97 like Caitlin Clark was down last season, it's hard to go down. It's hard to go down. But yeah, it is a funny one. Everything is complaining about Caitlin Clark's rating when...
The moment fans realized what was happening, the backlash was immediate and fierce. Social media exploded with one clear message. If Caitlin leaves, the fans leave too. Over and over, people made it clear that their loyalty isn't to the Indiana Fever's management, it's to Caitlin Clark.
When you think of WNBA, who are the first three players to come to your mind? There is no three. There's just one. Caitlin. Like, bro, like what? I don't know, bro.
And the numbers back that up. Before she arrived, the team was lucky to draw 3,000 fans a night.
They average like 3,000 seats to like 3,000 fans to 16,000 selling out every game last year.
With her, the Fever are selling out arenas with crowds of over 16,000, turning games into must-see events across the country. Jerseys fly off the shelves, national TV ratings spike whenever she plays, and the entire WNBA has shifted its spotlight onto her.
Caitlin Clark is this phenomenon that changed the entire landscape, sort of the sun that the WNBA has now orbited around as a solar system.
Yet the survey pretended as if her name wasn't the reason for all of this. That's why fans felt insulted, almost betrayed, because the truth is undeniable. Caitlin Clark is the show.
Why would you not be happy to have those people watching your sport? We've seen the numbers of the All-Star voting, right? A'ja Wilson, well under 100,000 2 years ago. Now Caitlin Clark is getting all the votes, of course, and she's getting them with, Leah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell and others.
Without her, the Fever risk fading right back into irrelevance. At the end of the day, this so-called fan survey didn't just spark outrage. It confirmed what so many people already suspected.
I think it's important for people to hear your background and context for people who don't know, and that's on the women's sports side of things. But then there's another aspect that you touch on in the book and that I think has not been discussed as much as to the explosion of Caitlin Clark's popularity, and that's dudes. You know, Caitlin Clark, if everybody goes like white and straight and all these other carnival barker talking points, but I've always thought her popularity, and with anything, there's a pie.
The Indiana Fever front office is trying to prove they can stand without Caitlin Clark, but the reality couldn't be clearer. She is the reason this team sells out every arena, shatters TV records, and even stays in the national conversation. Without her, the Fever risk slipping right back into irrelevance.
Say Fever Basketball LLC. Y'all see, this is the Fever right here. I kind of highlighted that for you. That is the Fever. How come I'm not seeing no scouts, bro? Or the scouting department? Do they even have a scouting department?
With her, they have the brightest future they've ever seen. The question now is simple. Will the front office finally respect Caitlin Clark and build around her? Or will they keep taking her for granted? One thing is certain, fans have already chosen their side. Wherever Caitlin goes, they go.